Ladies and gentlemen, we're closing in on yet another anniversary date coming up here in August of 2024. A day that we should all hope will never happen again. I'm talking today about the tragic events that took place the day that Christopher Watts killed his entire family. Today, I'm going to cover the top 10 most lied about, misunderstood facts about the actual case. I have documents to actually prove each and every one of these 10. These are not just my opinion. And I would also like to add that I am not making a single dime on this video. Like every Christopher Watts update and video I've ever done, from day one to now, 100% of the ad revenue goes to charity. You will see an additional charity for the Domestic Violence Fund over here on your right-hand side. If you wish to make a donation to them, please do so, because every dollar counts. And every victim needs to know that there is hope to get away. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Number 10. Christopher Watts only used debit cards that he received from his work to wine and dine Nicole Kissinger. This is absolutely false. There is not a shred of evidence that says that Christopher Watts only used debit cards. The debit cards, gift cards that he received from his work were to certain restaurants, certain pubs. He could use those, and he did, and he admitted that him and Nicole actually used them at those places. But don't forget, when they went out of town to the sand dunes and they rented, not only a camping spot there, but they also paid and rented snowboards to go down the actual sand dune hills there. He paid for that with cash, with his money that came from his and Shannon's bank account. That's just one example, a blatant example that there are plenty of pictures of the two of them kissing and hugging and taking selfies in the sand dune. Christopher Watts had heterosexual and homosexual relationships with others from dating apps besides the one with Nicole Kissinger during his marriage to Shanann. This has absolutely been proven unequivocally false early on in the investigation. Example, Trent Bowles, who came forward and said he met Chris through a dating app and had a homosexual relationship with Christopher Watts. This was proven to be false right away. As soon as law enforcement came to talk to him, he redacted the entire statement and said it was somebody else, and that he actually did it just to get his name in the paper. He was seeking his 15 seconds of fame. Not 15 minutes, 15 seconds. Absolutely false. The two women who came out initially when before they found Shannon and the girls, who said that they met Chris through dating apps, also redacted their actual statements that they ever met the man, or that Christopher Watts had an app or a profile on the dating apps. No dating app was ever found during the investigation that proved that Christopher Watts was on any dating app. Number 8. Shannon's Lexus was paid for by Thrive. No, it wasn't leased by Thrive. It wasn't paid for by Thrive. It was paid for and leased through one of the original founders. It had nothing. Thrive's name was nowhere on the contract at all. Shanann was listed as a secondary party and an authorized driver of the car. And Shanann paid for an extended warranty out of her own pocket for the car that covered oil changes and maintenance. That was what she was supposed to do. For in order to have the car, for order to keep the car, her sales numbers had to be at a certain level. If she dipped below that certain number for any extended period of time, they had the right to take the car back. But she was able to keep it above that and exceed beyond that. But the car was not leased by Thrive. It wasn't paid for by Thrive. The owner, again, co-owner, original founder of the company, leased it with his name because Thrive had no credit. Number 7, Shanann is the sole reason why they filed bankruptcy and that they were broke and they couldn't make ends meet. No, again. This is one of those things where people just want to find and place blame on the victim. When the actual truth is, the real reason why they went into bankruptcy was because of medical bills, student loans, personal loans that Chris had taken out before they actually got married, and paying their cost of living. They were living beyond their means. The home was a giant albatross hanging around both of their necks. They couldn't afford that home. They always knew that from the moment that they moved into the home. They couldn't keep up with the home. They couldn't pay the homeowners association dues. And they kept on falling behind. They'd get caught up and then fall behind. Get caught up and fall behind. And eventually it led them to bankruptcy. And then towards the end, there was no saving it all. They were mere months away from losing that home and everything that they had. And they knew it. They were being sued by the homeowners association at the time. And the bank was reaching out to them constantly. Catch up or we're taking the home. It was not just Shanann's fault. She was working as hard as she could to earn as much as she could. And Chris, well, his income was pretty much fixed. Maybe a little overtime here, a little bit of overtime there. But it was never going to be enough to bail them out. And they both made horrible financial decisions throughout their marriage. That drove them even closer to bankruptcy again and losing it all. It wasn't just Shanann's fault. But again, this is one of those things where people just love to blame the victim. Number 6, the shadows in the driveway are proof that there was somebody else in the driveway the day that Christopher Watts loaded his dead wife into the back of the vehicle and his 2 little girls. And that person was responsible for helping kill Shanann and the girls. Ladies and gentlemen, I paid for not one. I paid for 2 independent forensic experts who specialize in audio and in video to do a complete analysis of the uncut video. And I offered those reports to the man who put forth the idea. He stole the idea, but he put forth the idea and ran with it for so long that there was a shadow in the driveway that proved that there was somebody else there. Both of the forensic reports that I have in here, in this file, and on this case, prove neither one of the 2 companies knew each other. Neither one of the companies knew I was sending them the video. And they both had the same conclusion. The shadow is not of another person, but it doesn't prove that there was ever anybody there. It's one of the biggest lies that has been spread and ran with on the internet for so long. Because see, ladies and gentlemen, just because somebody has, content that they put out in the true crime community doesn't mean that they are doing the research or the legwork to even try to prove what they're saying. They run with it and you are suckered into believing it. Number 5, the neighbor Betty saw Nicole Kissinger's truck out on the street, parked behind Christopher Watts' truck the night of the murder or the night before the murder. No. If we go by Betty's own description of the vehicle she said she saw parked on the street behind Christopher Watts' actual truck, that would have been a Chevy Silverado or a Dodge, 1500 pickup truck. And dark in color, gray, and no decals or anything else were ever described by Betty. Betty only said that she saw a full-size truck out on the street. Ladies and gentlemen, Nicole Kissinger pickup truck is a Toyota. It's a subcompact pickup. Her vehicle is tan in color, and it had a very distinctive aftermarket decal that ran down both sides and along the tailgate of the truck. How good of an eyewitness testimony was that? Law enforcement never followed up on the tip other than her initial statement that she saw a truck out there. When now, factually, we know exactly whose truck she may have seen out on the street. Her neighbor's son next door. He parked on the street while he was home visiting his mom and dad. It wasn't Nicole Kissinger's truck. He drives a Chevy Silverado gray with a very distinctive sticker on the tailgate of that pickup truck. So maybe, just maybe, with Betty's bad eyes and the time of day early in the morning when she said she saw it, she saw another vehicle. It doesn't prove Nicole Kissinger's truck was there. Number 4, there's absolutely no way that Shanann made that much money in an MLM, a multi-level marketing company. She did, though. She was able to sell a lot of products, and she was very good at it. But the problem with the MLMs is that you buy the product yourself. You buy low and sell high, and hope that, down the road, as supply, keeps up, that the, actual demand keeps up as well. Or that the supply runs low and then you can make even more by marking it up and selling it. That's how it works. You buy the product, you sell the product, you buy more, and then you make money on all the people you sign up underneath you. It's a pyramid scheme. 100%. Like Tupperware. It's the same thing. Redlawn, Mary Kay. You can go on and on and on. They're all pyramid schemes. Some are better than others. But people sign up for them. They get suckered into it. But no one really wins unless you're at the absolute top. They're the only ones who really make money. But Shanann made money because there's no way they could have afforded even a half a year living in that home on just Christopher Watts' salary. Number 3, and the one that pisses me off the most out of all of them, is the gullible nature of so many people out there. Yeah, and I'm saying that, and I want you to be absolutely clear on what I said. The gullible nature to believe that Christopher Watts has an avenue to appeal, and they will be able to, through the money they've raised through the GoFundMes, to get him a new trial. There's no avenues to appeal other than, 1, the actual court made a grievous error against him in some way, either totaling up the actual time allowed that he is to be served, or they made a grievous error in violating his constitutional rights. If any of that happened by now, ladies and gentlemen, it would have been the biggest news that has ever hit this case. But no one, not even a first-year, lawyer out of law school, has seen any constitutional rights violations at all. So you can throw that avenue to appeal out the window. Number 2, the only other and the last way you could ever file an appeal is for ineffective counsel. It's all right there in the plea agreement. Read it yourself. You can request a copy of the plea agreement through the Federal County Courthouse. Anybody can do it. Yeah, you may have to pay a fee, but you can get the actual record yourself. And you can read through his plea agreement and the rights that he gave up willingly to take the death penalty off the table. He has no avenues to appeal with ineffective counsel. His attorney did everything. His attorney wanted to fight for him, but Chris wanted to plead guilty, and he did, because he's guilty. For those who have given money to the GoFundMe account, you're gullible. It's the only thing I can say. You keep on giving money to someone who keeps on taking the money out. but no one represents him other than his family. He has no attorney of record right now, ladies and gentlemen. If he did, it would be listed on the Dodge Correction Center's actual paperwork. Again, you can request that information from the Dodge Correction Center. No attorney on record. Number 2, Christopher Watts never used his work truck for personal uses. This is all based on a sentence, one sentence from his former boss, who, by the way, was fired for doing the same exact thing, using his work truck for personal uses. They all did. Every one of them knew how to turn the GPS units off on their trucks. Everyone. And an example for this, ladies and gentlemen, is when he used his work truck to drive to Denver, Colorado to pick up the quad runners. That these are off-road vehicles that he bought along with a trailer. He went there and picked it up, and when he picked it up on the actual paperwork, they wrote down the license plate number, and he signed that he was picking up the actual vehicles themselves. Yes, one of the bright decisions of Christopher Watts was he sold them months later for less than what he owed on the actual loan. They needed money. They needed money quick. So he sold them off. He placed an ad online and sold them off for less than what he owed on the contract. You still got to pay. It's all going to come due. And yes, they're just another one of those creditors out there who were seeking to actually get some money out of the family, out of the Watts estate. But there isn't any. They were broke. Number 1, there's no way Christopher Watts killed his daughters, unborn son Nico and Shanann, without help from someone else. He did it one by one, ladies and gentlemen. He killed Shanann in the home, loaded her dead body in the back of the vehicle at the feet of his 2 girls. Then he took them out one at a time and smothered them to death. And then dumped them in an oil tank and buried Shanann in a shallow grave. Those in the field of psychology know, and they've done an extensive amount of research on family annihilators. They know they can't be talked out of it. The only thing you can ever do for someone who is planning to kill their family is to be able to veer them off in a different direction and get the family away from them. It's going to happen. They believe their family is suffering just as much as they are. But what you need to remember the most, ladies and gentlemen, is that Shanann worked hard her entire life. She earned enough money and bought her own house outright back home. She sold that home when they moved to Colorado prior to it. And that all that money was in the bank. If she spent the entire thing on handbags and fashion items, so be it. To look at the victim afterwards through rose-colored glasses and say, hey, that's why they were broke. She had all those handbags and all those clothing. She shopped at Ross. Ross Dress for Less. She shopped at Burlington Coat Factory. She bought last year's fashions on discount for herself and for the girls. The household furniture wasn't new. It was a floor model, especially the stuff that was in the living room. It was all a floor model. She was a bargain hunter. But it's all gone. Placing blame on the victim now will never get you anywhere. The only thing that proves is that you are an asshole. Blaming the victim is ridiculous. As we close in on another anniversary of this tragic series of events, think for yourself. Make up your own mind. Don't ever allow someone to tell you what the truth is. You have the internet. Use it. Look up the answers to your questions. Research for yourself. Know where the facts really are. And you, stay safe out there.